Elizaveta, can you hear me? Excellent. Can you
Yep.
just 30 seconds? Got everything settled here. Just go ahead and speak for 30 seconds to test your audio.
All right. My name is Elizaveta, as I already said, and I started telling you that I'm joining you from the United States, from the state called Rhode Island. I'm now in the University of Rhode Island, and I hope that we will have a great connection. How was the audio?
Okay, that was very good. I'm just getting things set up. We're going to be ready to start in about 1 minute, folks. So I'm just doing some final processing here. So just hang in there.
We need a brighter one. Make it brighter. All right, we did it, we did what we had to do.
Okay, I'm actually going to come around to the front of the camera in a moment, but boy, this is excellent. Just 2 seconds. There we go. Okay, so um, please give me a thumbs up in each location if you can hear me. I'm just double checking, and then we'll get our audio straight. But excellent, Elizaveta can hear me. Everyone, beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to come around now, and we're going to start this class. Just hold on.
Once she starts lecturing, then we'll just.
Excellent. Come on, Emily, and that's great.
Yes.
Just be aware, Elizaveta and Daniel in Budapest, Montreal, and Toronto have an intense, long-standing hockey rivalry that goes back many decades to the beginning of professional hockey. So what you're seeing is just a little bit of that right now with Toronto, or I should say Oshawa, which is just outside of Toronto, and Montreal, kind of playing around. And I could even jump into this too because, well, anyways, I'm not going to. Okay, I'm just not going to jump into the hockey rivalry. It's so easy. Um, okay, excellent. So let's just see. Everyone can see each other. Nice positioning in Budapest. Daniel and Daniel, we can see you guys clearly. Good to see you, and Elizaveta. I'm going to just start with official introductions in a moment. Just want to make sure everybody can hear each other. So one final little audio check, okay? What I would like to do is each location now, we'll start in a few moments with Rhode Island, with Elizaveta. I'd like her to speak for 10 seconds and make sure that everybody can hear her. So when she speaks, if everyone can hear her in Budapest, Montreal, and here, we'll all raise our thumbs like this, okay? And then we'll do the same in Budapest to make sure that when Budapest speaks, everyone else can hear them, and we'll do the same, and we'll go all the way around. And keep in mind that whenever you're not speaking, mute your microphone, okay? That's critical to stop the reverberating or echoing. And then this will be a great class. We just have to deal with a few little technical issues first. So let's start with the audio check. So I'm going to mute my microphone. Elizaveta, please do a quick audio check.
All right, so I'm really excited to be here today, and I'm thrilled to see so many faces, and I definitely look forward to this discussion.
Now go ahead, Daniel, and do an audio 10 seconds. Speak
Hello.
for 10 seconds.
We are here to make you believe that strength is not in numbers.
All right, that's it. I want you to explain later what it means.
Okay, excellent, Daniel. That is true, that there may be only 2 students in Budapest, but these guys are thoughtful. So get ready, Montreal. We've had some experience with Budapest already. Now in Montreal, audio check, please.
Hello.
Testing.
Excellent. Okay, so I think we're ready. The only thing that we might need to do is if the audio in Montreal needs to be a little bit improved, we might have students who speak to come to the microphone, Sevak, that you just spoke into, because that was nice. You'll learn Elizaveta and the Daniels in Budapest, they participated in the global classes. They understand the importance of audio. You'll see in Montreal how critical it is that we can hear each other clearly. Even when the video is a little bit delayed and it's out of sync, you won't even notice because the audio is so clean. And we need to hear each other. So that's excellent. Okay, so everybody good? I think we're ready to start this global class. So welcome to all locations, to Elizaveta Friesem, our guest, doctoral student in Rhode Island in the United States, the University of Rhode Island and Temple University. I will talk a little bit more about her in a moment. Welcome Daniel number 1 and Daniel number 2 in Budapest for another global class, and also Vanya Call.
What happened? You. Remember, the audio still works. Oh, the audio still works. Oh, we heard. I know no shot.
You want me to? We can't hear Toronto. Can Elizaveta, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. And the 2 Daniels. Daniel, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
What about the other Daniel? All right, so we've lost Toronto. Should we start the lecture and let them catch up later?
Well, let's wait like 1 more minute because I think that Lon would like everybody to participate at the same time. But if
Okay.
they are still not here, then we will certainly start.
All right. My class, we have to leave here at in about say 50 minutes. Yeah, at 10:30 we have to be out of this room Eastern time. Okay.
Yeah, I know that we have time till 10:30. All right, so Lon is, I hope that he will be able to join us. I'm just concerned that once he does that, we'll have to start all over again. But since he's not here and we are, let's begin. So he started introducing me. He told that my name is Elizaveta Friesem. I am originally from Russia, from St. Petersburg, and I'm currently a PhD student, a doctoral student in the United States, in the university called Temple University, that is located in Philadelphia. And I am also working with the University of Rhode Island, which is located in another state in Rhode Island, while Temple University is located in Pennsylvania. So when it says on my icon here that I'm from the University of Rhode Island, that is not entirely correct because I'm technically a PhD student at Temple University. So that's what you have to know about me, the main things that you have to know about me. And now we are going to have a discussion when I'm hoping to learn a lot about you. I'm really happy to have this opportunity to participate in the global class with Alon and all of you, because I think that it's an amazing, amazing chance for us to meet people from different countries, although it looks like some people here are from the same country, from Canada. Um, but still, anyway, everybody's different. Everybody has their own opinions. And I really value your ideas and your opinions, and I want to hear them. So this, we don't have an hour and a half now. We have more than like an hour and 10 minutes. And during this hour, I won't be talking all the time. It won't be a lecture when I'm speaking. Uh-oh, they left us. And you are listening or taking notes. I really want everybody to participate. That's why I asked Lon to make sure that everybody has a microphone that can be moved around the class. And I hope that we are going to have a lot of fun during this discussion because we are going to talk about something that everybody can relate to. First of all, we are going to talk about the media, and we'll speak in a minute of what this term means so that everybody is on the same page. And everybody likes the media. Everybody reads books. Everybody watches films. And everybody has something to say about it. And we are going to talk about some stereotypes that are sometimes contained in media text. And I'm sure that everybody has certain opinions about stereotypes, and especially stereotypes connected with men and women, or what we call gender.
And then there were two.
Hey guys.
And then there were two.
Daniel, what are you guys studying?
We both study communication and media.
And
Amazing, actually easy for us.
speak directly into the mic. We can't hear you.
Oh yeah, I just said we studied communication and media.
And so, do you guys? You finished high school and you're in some sort of a college program?
Yeah, we are in a university. Actually, Daniel here finished last year, but he thought that the global class project was something that he found interesting, so he came back.
All right, cool. And then for you guys in Budapest, what's it like in terms of finding jobs? Is there a lot of opportunity right now in Budapest, in Hungary, or are youth sort of waiting for the older generation to start leaving their jobs?
I myself have been working with different international companies for the last few years. So I'm going to pass the microphone to the other Daniel because he might have more to say about this topic.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, well, there are many opportunities, but well, you have to work hard, of course. That's something you have to do everywhere. But I think that media in our country is a bit, well, let's say, oppressed by politicians, politics. So I think it hardens our situation, unfortunately.
So the post-communist Hungary still feels some of the restrictions. Are they real or are they imagined?
Not necessarily the restrictions, but rather the fact that regardless of the party that has the power for 4 years for a term, they are going to pretty much fire the entire staff that worked there during the opposition's reign. So basically working for any media outlet in Hungary is like cutting your wrist very slowly. you won't die immediately, but eventually it's going to get horrible.
Do you guys have aspirations to leave Hungary, or do other people your age want to leave Hungary and immigrate to other parts of Europe or North America?
Well, unfortunately, most of the Jaws wants to leave Hungary because they think that they don't have enough chance to get proper jobs. So and this is a really big problem in our country.
That's right, because what you're going to see, and I think in a lot of Eastern European countries and a lot of Western European countries like Ireland and even in France now, there's a sort of push to leave, head to North America or Asia to find opportunities.
Yeah, I mean,
Can I just can I interrupt? Can you hear me? And sorry, we were for some reason thrown out of Adobe Connect, and we're back. So, Seva, thanks for carrying this. Can everyone raise a thumb in Budapest, in Rhode Island, and in Montreal if you can hear me? Great. Okay. Just a second. I just need to do one final thing, and then we can continue.
Lon, do you hear me? I just wanted to let you know that we've already started. So you don't have to introduce myself. I can just continue with what I've done so far.
We may have to just reconnect one more time. There's a small glitch here. I have it fixed. I just need to increase the audio at my end. So just be prepared. You may have to reconnect one more time, and then we'll be okay. I don't know what's going on, but at least I can fix it. So hang on. Nope, we're okay. Whenever good. Okay, just a second. Almost there. We are now set.
Here we go. Let's do it.
Hi, everyone. So we can continue. I have no idea what happened, but at least I was able to fix it. So
All right, so
that's good.
we can continue. And just to briefly summarize what I've said so far, I introduced myself and I said that we are going to have now a discussion. It's not going to be a lecture, and I want everybody to be ready to jump in and tell their opinions, tell about their experience with the media and what they think about stereotypes in the media. One very important thing to remember that this is not an exam and this is not a test, and certainly there are no right or wrong answers here. And I really would like you to tell me what you think about the media, what you think about the way the media tell us about men and women. And it's especially interesting since we represent different countries and different places on the planet, and we are all unique individuals who have their own unique opinions about things. And so if you tell me your answer and I ask you to elaborate or to explain more, it's not because I disagree with you, it's just because I would really like you to tell me more about what you think. I really value your opinion. So one rule is to not be afraid to share your opinion, and the other rule is, of course, to be polite, right? Because we are going to participate in this talk, and sometimes when people talk about media, they tend to become emotional. Like, you don't like this movie, how can you not like this movie? Or you think that it's a stereotype? No, it's not a stereotype. It's true. So it's totally fine to disagree with each other and to disagree with me. But just make sure to be polite and to explain why you have this opinion. So these are some introductory remarks, and now we can jump in. And as I already, as you noticed, I mentioned many times now the word media. And I heard when I connected again to this conversation, I heard that you were actually talking about media industries. So I'm sure that you know the word media. So but I would like you to jump in and to give me some examples of media. Who wants to give me some examples? What is media?
Excellent. Okay, well, let me just stop for a second so I can be clear on what we missed,
Yes.
because I saw some discussion going on when we came back, and then we'll come right to media and follow this, Elizaveta. Thanks. What did we miss while this glitch was being fixed? Sevak in Montreal, I heard you
We were
talking.
just having a conversation about the youth in Hungary, sorry, and the future of European youth in general. We really weren't talking much about the media. But we have the editor of our student paper in this classroom here. So Mary, why don't you give us a quick definition of what you perceive to be as media?
What I perceive to be as media? Oh. I guess media would be like
Come to the front so
TV.
we can see you. It's just perhaps so we can see your face. Come to the microphone.
Okay, wait, what's the question? Okay, media like TV and books and newspapers and news and radio.
Sorry, can you come to the microphone?
No.
We can't hear you.
Oh,
And-
I can hear, and I can repeat. It's an awesome answer. Media indeed includes books and films and news and newspapers. All these are different kinds of media. All right. So, would somebody venture to give me a definition of what is the media? We gave some examples, but what would be the definition?
I think in Montreal, the editor of the student newspaper is going to speak. Excellent. Can you come?
Hello.
Ah,
Hi. Okay, so media is communicating information to large scales of people and stuff.
Awesome, awesome. That's an awesome answer. Thank you so much for giving me your insight on that. So certainly, media is well, the term media itself. It's a plural of medium. It's something that is in between A and B, right? So where A is a certain person or entity that wants to transmit a message, and B would be the audience of the message. And medium, or collectively media, are different forms of technology, different devices, different technological advancements that help us connect this A to B and to share messages to large audiences. So we are going to talk now about different kinds of media. And I gave Lon sometime before the class a list of things that I would like you I wanted you to think about before the class. Not necessarily everybody saw this list, and it's totally fine. So the first thing that I wanted you to think about and to share with me now during this discussion is your favorite media character. So now with that, we determined that media can be books, it can be films, it can be TV shows, it can be video games, it can be anything that's online, music videos, internet websites. So I would like some of you to think, I mean, I would like all of you to think about it, but some of you to name for me a favorite media character that doesn't necessarily have to be the favorite character of all times, maybe just something that you saw yesterday and you remember and you really liked. And tell everybody about this character and describe them and explain what you like about them. So who would like to start?
so thank you. Anyone in Montreal, in Budapest, or over here would like to jump in and describe what they would consider an interesting, compelling media character, even perhaps their favorite? I'll do it, but I don't have to. I'll do it to break the ice. But does anyone want to start? Oh, I see someone in Montreal.
Hi.
Hello.
My name's Matthew. I guess, well, when we
got the questions through email, the first person I thought of was Lana Winters. She's a character from a few seasons ago on a TV show. She's a very ambitious and determined journalist taking place in the 1950s. And I don't know, I just liked her because she was very determined, and at times this is perceived as cold, perhaps even more so because she's a woman, but I really liked her either way.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I would like somebody else to jump in and share their favorite character or somebody they just want to talk about.
Okay, Declan is going to jump in here. I'm going to give him the microphone, okay? Thanks.
Yeah, sure.
I was always a fan of Obi-Wan Kenobi from Star Wars. I really admired, just from him, his sense of duty to what he believed was the greater good and his willingness to sacrifice most of the things he held dear for his convictions, and he stayed true to those loyalties and even to his friends towards the very end, and not forsaking anyone during his struggles.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I think that there are many people who can relate to what you've said because Star Wars is such a famous franchise. And thank you for describing so excellently this character as having this sense of duty and loyalty. I think it's an awesome, awesome description. Thank you. Anybody else? I would like to hear from several people.
Well,
Yes,
let's
please.
go to Budapest, then we'll come back here because you're getting the conversation going, Elizaveta. That's great. One of the Daniels, the view from Budapest, a favorite or important media character. Please tell us.
Okay. There was this TV show called Sardi Rock. I don't know if it rings any bells.
Oh yeah,
I don't think it was one of my all-time favorites, but I have to say that Jack Donaghy stuck with me, just because of how the entire show was built around making fun of stereotypes, and there were these characters that were the very extremes of these stereotypes, and I don't know, just when you brought this topic up, he was the first person that came to my mind, how driven he was, yet how blind he was to half of the issues that plague society on an everyday basis. And on top of that, he was also hilarious. So that's
All
always
right.
a plus.
Thank you very much for sharing. Yeah, I know this show. I haven't personally watched it, but I know it. I know of it. And thank you so much for bringing up the issue of stereotypes. And we are going to come back to it very soon. But I would like to hear from a couple more people so that we can continue the conversation in direction.
I think
Yes,
there
please.
was somebody here in
Yeah.
Oshawa, and then of course we can come back to Montreal as well and keep going. But I'm going to give the microphone to Chris. Okay,
Awesome.
Chris, go ahead.
Alright, so my favorite TV character is, he's a detective from the turn of the 19th century named William Murdoch. And what I like about him is he's a papist in an Anglican world, so he's got a lot of adversity against him. And he's an innovator. He's constantly trying to improve upon stuff, and the world needs making all these connections, which is really what it's all about. And that's what I like about him.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing what you think about this detective William Murdoch. So he's an innovator. He's an interesting character. And somebody else from the other part of Canada, maybe.
Montreal, throwback to Montreal. Anyone there?
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Ben. My favorite character of all time, contrary to popular belief in this class, it is not Legolas from Lord of the Rings. Is this other guy, he's called Orin from a video game. And the reason I like him so much is because he could be serious, he could get the job done, yet he could have a comical air to him, which people wouldn't expect of him. He's unexpected, he could turn around on you and just do something really you wouldn't expect him to do. and that's why I like him, because he's unexpected and you can't predict his movements or his actions as what he's gonna do later on in the story or things like that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And I like that we have now different kinds of media represented. We had a film, we had a TV show, and now we have even a video game represented. And we heard a variety of opinions about these characters. And and notice that many of them are actually like internationally known, like Star Wars or 30 Rock is something that can be considered a kind of a globalized media. So maybe people from different classes can at least can recognize these names. Maybe not necessarily like these characters, but recognize these names. So that's tell us something about the way media is spreading around the globe. Now I really like that the word I heard the word stereotype mentioned here, and so since our class shifted a little bit, I don't have time to talk about some things in depth. I would like to jump into this other part of our discussion and talk a little bit about stereotypes. So before we will certainly come back to your favorite characters because it's something worth discussing. But before we do that, I would like to tell me what do you know about stereotypes? What is a stereotype?
What is a stereotype? Okay, so that's the question for everyone. Let me stop for a second, just because I want to explain a little bit about Elizaveta. I didn't have a chance before because I got cut off, and I may not need to. But did you in Montreal and also in Budapest, did you hear me do an introduction where I talked a little bit about who Elizaveta is? Yes? Or put your thumb down if you didn't hear. I think I got cut off. Did you
I
hear?
did talk. I did introduce myself, so we did have this part covered.
Okay, and did we also cover just the idea of freedom and how freedom relates to the?
Well, we will come back to that. I think it's we will continue talking about stereotypes now, but I'm certainly going to connect that to our main topic.
Okay, great. So go ahead, stereotypes. Please, does anyone want to explain how you define a stereotype, and then
I can
we'll.
see somebody in Oshawa. No, in the first row. Next.
Hi. So I feel a stereotype is generally a trait that people conceive as being common amongst a group of people. So, for example, all black people are superb athletes. White white guys can't dance. And Asians are crazy good at math, and Jewish people are naturally good with money. So like a stereotype could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing, it could be a neutral thing. It doesn't matter, but it is just a trait that people conceive as being true across a certain demographic, regardless of personal circumstances.
Awesome. It's an awesome definition. I'd like to hear somebody else just maybe jump in and add something to that, and then we are going to briefly summarize what we've learned about stereotypes. Does anybody wants to add something to what has been just said?
What is a stereotype?
Hi, my name is Taliesin. I guess the only thing I would add to that is that stereotypes aren't necessarily based on reality. There are some standards that are invented by companies or I suppose, by media, is perpetuated by media. And I think that there's something that has a very dramatic influence on people. People feel pressured by them, and it affects their self-image and how they perceive themselves, whether or not they can compare themselves to certain stereotypes.
I That's an awesome addition, and I like both what you both said. I think it gives a very your answers really complement each other, because stereotypes are certainly something that we believe, many people believe about a certain type of things or group of people. For example, all people of a certain race are act like that, or all people of a certain gender act like that. And stereotypes are not necessarily connected to reality, and they sometimes they can be traced back to things people experience, but they are mm, they simplify the world, and that's why they can be misleading. And I liked how you talked about who produces stereotypes and how they affect us. And you mentioned that the media or corporations may produce stereotypes. So certainly there are a lot of discussions on that and how the media is involved, how it is implicated in producing or reproducing stereotypes that we that affect our lives. And we are going to talk about it today briefly, but the one thing to keep in mind, one like very important piece of the puzzle, is the discussion of what comes first: stereotypes in the media or stereotypes in people's minds. Because media texts are created by people. Um, so do we first believe that something is true about a certain group of people and then tell about that in a film or in a computer, in a video game? Or first we learn about this in a video game and then we start believing that? This is one important thing to think about. And another important thing that was mentioned is that how stereotypes affect us. And this is actually this is where I would like to connect this discussion to the topic of our conversation, the freedom, right? Freedom. So because some people certainly say, and maybe some of you can relate to that, that stereotypes can limit our freedom to be who we are or to see the world in all its complexity, because we expect people to be a certain way. Um, and I also liked how the first speaker said that stereotypes it can be difficult to say whether stereotypes are good or bad, right? Because sometimes we just think, that all I don't know, policemen have guns, and is it good or bad to think that? It's difficult to say. Um, so there are the whole flood of questions that actually opens up with the definition of stereotypes. So now that we gave this definition, I would like you to think again about your favorite characters. And we already started talking about them, how they can be connected to stereotypes and how we can see some stereotypes in these characters either reinforced or being broken. So I would like either those who already shared their characters, you can jump in again and continue exploring your favorite character, and now from a different angle, and think whether there is anything stereotypical in these characters. Or if you haven't shared anything about your favorite character, you can still jump in and share very briefly and say if there is anything stereotypical. There are any stereotypical traits in this character, or maybe it breaks stereotypes in your opinion. Both things are possible. Who would like to jump in?
This is a tougher question. That's a good one in the sense that each of you who has given your favorite character or interesting character now has to reassess and ask yourself, is that character actually just a stereotype? And is it possible that there's a company, a production company, a web developer who has created that type so that I can pay money for that movie or that web service or that video game? Have I been manipulated? This is really significant, and I don't know if anyone's going to have the courage to now revisit their character, but let's try, okay? Does anyone want to comment on, as well as Elizaveta is saying, the stereotypes? Okay, oh, here comes Emily. Okay, Emily, come on up, and let's see. Do you want to come through so we can see? Yeah, great. Okay, here we go.
There's a commercial right now going viral on TV, and has a bunch of women in front of a TV camera at an audition, and the director asks them to run like a woman, and all the girls start flailing around and bobbling their heads and just looking ridiculous. So the commercial continues, and they turn to a bunch of young ladies, a bunch of young girls. They say, "Run like a woman," and these girls are giving her like running like it's the last thing that they can do, and they look strong, they look powerful, and it shows how through social media and through any other media outlets how it is portraying women, and it kind of suggests that throughout time we lose our ability to see women as strong strong individuals. And I think that it was eye-opening, and it may not be a character in a TV show or a video game, but it really was eye-opening to see that type of thing, because I'm a woman, and if you asked me to run like a woman, I would have ran with my head bobbing around, licking my hand. So there we are.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing this insight. I have seen this commercial. I think it's either called Like a Girl or Run Like a Girl, and it's something to worth watching. It's really short, but it just gives us some thoughts about why do we consider being like a girl? Why do we consider that funny or inferior in some way? And this is a good example of a media text, because ads are certainly media text. They don't necessarily have characters like films or books, but they have characters, they have people in them. And these people can either conform stereotypes, reinforce stereotypes, or break them. So here we can see an example of a media character breaking a stereotype. Awesome. So who else would like to jump in and think about their favorite character, maybe in a book or a show, or maybe somebody who already shared your characters, and tell me if there is anything stereotypical about them. And since we already started, you see how we kind of started talking about men and women and things that are called gender stereotypes. So stereotypes connected to a person being a man or a woman, like because he's a man, he would act like that, or because she's a woman, she will feel like that. So let's think about your characters specifically in terms of gender stereotypes. Is there anything stereotypical in them, and maybe they're breaking stereotypes, and if so, how?
Do I see Daniel in Budapest getting ready to say something?
If nobody wants to go, I'll be brave just because the character I have chosen is basically a mountain of stereotypes.
Mm-hmm.
He's this typical alpha male who's a successful businessman and who fully embraces this side. And this one scene comes to mind when he's talking about business to the female protagonist of the story, and he's about to say businesswoman, but instead he just stops and starts thinking, and the lady butts in and looks at the guy, and he's like, and she goes like, so a businesswoman, and then this J guy is like, I don't think that's a real word. So what I'm trying to say is that the entire show fully embraced these stereotypes, and by embracing them, they kind of took the edge off of these things. So they could freely make fun of things that we would otherwise we might think it, we might agree with it, but they made it possible to just really laugh about it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I like this example. I think I know the character that you're talking about. Is it played by Alec Baldwin? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. I actually saw him in the spring in person. That was quite fun.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, I know what you're talking about when you say that he's full of stereotypes, and I like how you bring this idea that sometimes having a character based on stereotypes is actually helping us to think about the validity of these stereotypes. This is a great example. But I would like to hear a couple of more examples, because I think that it's really interesting how you reflect on your favorite characters and how you think. Well, so I'm going to actually pick on somebody, because I really like the examples that you gave me before. Like for example, talking about the Obi-Wan Kenobi. Um, yeah. sorry, but I really liked your example, and I would like you just to think. He's a male character. So do you think that is there any stereotypical about him, like as a male character, or he breaks some stereotypes?
Great. Just before I hand the microphone to Declan, I'm just going to say to Daniel in Budapest, can you please hold the microphone closer to your mouth or raise the level of your microphone? It's just that you're coming out a little bit weak at our end. Just hold the microphone a little closer to your mouth when you speak, okay? That's all. Thanks. Okay, so Declan is going to now return to Obi-Wan Kenobi from Star Wars.
Awesome.
And Elizaveta has put him on the spot a little bit by asking him to think about whether this character is a stereotype because he...
No, I'm not saying that he's a stereotype. I don't think that any character is fully a stereotype. What I'm asking is there anything stereotypical, any things that he does that would be like considered a stereotype because you expect men to act like that, or maybe everything he does is like completely outside of any stereotypes that you know of.
I think Obi-Wan is mostly a stereotype of what some people might consider an ideal man. Throughout Star Wars, he's never really left to be able to choose his own path or follow his own desires or do what he wants to do. He's always expected to do what others need him to do. He is a tool. For example, when, like in the literal sense of the word, Obi-Wan is only useful to people if he can complete his duty. So, for example, when Anakin goes and converts to the dark side, becomes Darth Vader, and then goes and kills all the younglings in the Jedi Temple, and then is on Mustafar, Obi-Wan is expected to go and put him down. It's not any other Jedi. It's Obi-Wan, even though for Obi-Wan, Anakin is not only his Padawan, but also his best friend and his brother, and in some ways even his son. So that's incredibly difficult to go through. So it's a stereotype. Not Obi-Wan himself is not a stereotype, but he's a stereotype of an ideal. Most people say that a real man is someone who puts himself after others and puts himself at the disposal of others, and so that is what I feel it is he's just a tool for the public.
Interesting. I really like your take on that, and I do agree that there is a stereotype that men are supposed to be tough, right? Men are supposed to go and save everybody. Um, and this character in this sense, and I liked how you say that he's not a stereotype, because nowadays, maybe in the beginning when the media just started, all the movies and cartoons or whatever just started, we could see more characters that were more more like simple and one-sided. But nowadays we have very, very complex characters that have different features in them, different aspects of personality represented in them, and they are not all stereotypes. But they still can have some things that you can say, wow, this is actually rings a bell for me because this is something that men are expected to be like, or men are expected to do. And I would like also to hear from somebody who has a favorite character who's a woman, right? We talked about the commercial, and this was a great example. But I would like to think, I would like somebody to jump in who has a character like in a film or a book or a computer game who would be like a character, like a personality with some traits and some features of their individuality. And maybe the student who talked about, who was the brave one who talked about Winona Winters, I believe, was she, right? A journalist, a determined journalist. So maybe you would like to tell more about this character, and think of her in terms of stereotypes.
Great. Can I just say to the student, is it possible you could come forward and just lean against the desk where the first student is so we can see you clearly? So we can see just that. Nice. Okay. Come up, bring the microphone. Thanks so much. Okay, that really helps. So and what's your name again?
Matthew. Okay, so Lana is a character. She doesn't embrace most of the general stereotypes of how women should aren't ambitious per se, because that is a stereotype that is shown a lot in our media and stuff. But she does embrace the stereotype of, for a woman to be ambitious and to be determined, she has to become like the B word. You know, it's a word that we only use on female characters that are ambitious and determined. We don't use it on men. And so I think in a sense she sort of embraces this a bit, but not completely. And she also has to be saved occasionally as at her stay at the asylum where she's being held for her homosexuality, because it takes place in the 1950s. She has to be saved by men at two instances during the plot. So, but at the end she finally saves herself. So I feel like she breaks them a bit, but not completely.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I really liked how you talked about this double standard that characters, male and female characters, sometimes have, and that we are actually experience in our lives, right? And when men are supposed to be tough and save everybody, as Obi-Wan Kenobi does, but when women become too assertive and become too aggressive, they sometimes get labeled with bad words, um, and they do occasionally need to be saved. Um, and also, this is a good example of a complex character, right? That you cannot say necessarily this character is full of stereotypes. This character is one-sided. This character is very complex. She is determined. She is strong. At the same time, she's sometimes portrayed as maybe too bossy in a negative way, or and she sometimes needs to be saved. So now that we talked about gender stereotypes, and we talked about gender stereotypes specifically in the media, I would like you to make a connection between these stereotypes and what men and women are expected to be in their lives outside of the media. And we are already started talking about it a little bit. For example, we talked about the Star Wars, right? That men are supposed to be tough. So just I would like you to think broader about other. So we started from your favorite characters or from these specific characters. Think about other gender stereotypes that you encounter in films, and think about the way. Think about what these stereotypes can tell us about the culture that produced this media text. This is kind of a two-sided question, right? So we might want to start just thinking about stereotypes about of gender stereotypes more broadly. So men, we start like men are tough, and men are supposed to save the day, and women are more often supposed to be saved than men. These are very good stereotypes. I mean, good examples of stereotypes. Good or bad, it's another kind of discussion. So I would like to hear more from people who haven't said anything yet. I'm sure that you have something to add to the discussion.
I have a student here, Joseph, who would like to say something about this. Okay, Joseph, you want?
Awesome.
The question is, can you think of other stereotypes in any form of media? Stereotypical male, stereotypical female, and what is that stereotype? So maybe it is music, but videos. You want to describe it to us and try it? You know? No? Okay. It's okay. Joseph.
Like,
Okay. Hold on. I'll give it over to Chris. Okay. No, it's difficult. I would be if I were a student. It's not always easy to jump into the conversation. But Joseph has raised a good point, though. But think about it. Maybe we'll come back to you. Okay. Here's Chris. Okay.
All right, so mine's not particularly a film, but it is a sense of marketing, and it's mainly towards kids. Because my friend just popped out like 3 of them in one go, and we were going shopping, and we were looking at some commercials as well, and we're at a Toys R Us, and it's like a pink and blue apocalypse, and I was noticing in the marketing of toys, like you see science kits, and you look at the science kits aimed at boys, they're actually toy science kits, and then the ones that are aimed at girls, they're pink, they're sparkly. It's about how to make makeup and do your nails. So it's perpetuating the stereotype that little girls can't grow up to be, strong, determined athletes. They don't grow up to be engineers. They essentially grow up to be barefoot in the kitchen and pregnant in the grand scheme of things. So that's something that's always standing out to me, because when I was little, I had this baby Cabbage Patch doll, little bald-headed baby named Declan of all things. I will bring you pictures, Declan. And I would have this little Cabbage Patch Kid doll running around in a stroller holding a plastic toy rifle, because I was that kind of kid. And my parents would get all these looks like, you've got a little guy here and he's got a doll. And I was always thinking, well, my dad, at some point, he held a baby. Eventually, God willing, I'm going to hold a kid that's mine. And, I don't want to hold this kid like a football and drop him. So to me, those were the stereotypes. Like,
Yeah, I like that you brought the example of toys, because some people argue that toys are also a kind of a media. It's not necessarily like books or films, but they are produced by somebody with a certain message in mind, sometimes maybe not conscious message, but believing, for example, that boys want to play with certain toys and girls want to play with certain toys because they will grow up either fighting for their women or bare feet and pregnant in the kitchen, right? So this idea, this message, dictates the certain choices, right? And this message becomes embodied. It becomes it becomes an object, a toy that then people buy, consume, and kind of decipher this message again, sometimes unconsciously, as they are playing with this toy. And this is an awesome example. And also it connects to my other question of how these stereotypes, what role it can play in people's lives, right? Because if a boy grows up never holding like a toy doll in his hands, and then he doesn't feel comfortable holding a baby when he becomes a father, and then he believes, and this is actually a widely held belief, this is a stereotype again, that men are not as much made up for fatherhood as women are for motherhood. So women are so cuddly and they can be with babies, but men are like, no, they don't know how to change diapers. And in the long run, it can hurt both men and women, because men feel often disconnected from their children because they feel they cannot connect. They were not taught that they can connect. And women feel that they cannot really ask their husband to like take care of their little babies because they don't know how to do it. This is a great example. I really liked it. So let's go into this direction a little further and think more about how stereotypes that are contained in the media can affect us. And think again about the topic of our conversation, the freedom, right? Because what we just gave, what the examples we were just giving, that freedom is not necessarily means that either we are walking along the street and do whatever we want, or we're sitting in a cage. It's not this kind of dichotomy. Freedom can be deciding to be who we are and accepting who we are, what we feel. This is also a kind of freedom. And sometimes the stereotypes can prevent us from being who we are, because we have these expectations around us telling us you should be strong or you shouldn't be strong, you should be saved or you should be at home taking care of children. So this is
Elizaveta,
also a kind of freedom.
Elizaveta, can I just jump in for a sec? Because I think Joseph, there's a student here who actually
Awesome.
wants to add
Awesome.
to this.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
we'll
Please.
come back.
Please do.
Sorry, just want to make sure we give the
Yeah.
students as much
Yes.
time as we
Yes.
can. Okay?
Yeah.
Excellent. So Joseph has a comment here.
I'm Joseph. I'm just here to say something briefly about this channel called BT. As a youth, growing up, a lot of black children would watch this channel, and it would have a bunch of music videos that portray gang violence, Just negative stuff, pretty much like
Mhm.
drug selling, and over time, like I feel like it affected my race, and it leaves bad stereotypes that like affect my day-to-day life, and it's
Mhm.
an ongoing cycle that I don't think will like go down, and I feel like people don't really give the chance for like a young black man. They just see and believe what the media says, like I'm violent or uneducated or I don't have my dad or something. I don't know. It's just an ongoing cycle that I feel like won't end anytime soon. And I blame it all on the media, pretty much.
Yes, this is I really
Elizabeth,
I'm
sorry,
thrilled that you.
hey,
Oh,
hey,
what?
sorry. Can I just sort of stop for 2 seconds? Only because that. Can I just say, do you want to continue with Joseph? Because I think what he's just added is very, very important. Um, and can I just say one thing about this comment? Because to me, as a teacher and professor here, uh, we just had a student who basically said that stereotypes perpetuated by the media, constructions of characters created by media companies, influenced in a very harmful way, or we would say maybe a discouraging way, the way you saw your own self. And who is making these stereotypes? Like who's creating them? Well, who's creating these stereotypes?
TV in general, yes, but also I hate to say it, but like BT wasn't owned by like it's called Black Entertainment Television, but it wasn't owned by a black person. It was owned by a white person. I'm not saying they're racist or anything, but like the stuff they had on the program would be like just a bunch of negative crap towards like black people, and us as kids would watch this every day, and I see it like not so much in Canada, but in the States, I see like I just see what I see on TV, and I just realize a lot of the people, like my people down there, are like that, and it's awful. Like you can't do anything about it, but I feel like it's a cycle that's gonna continue because these kids like when we were kids are raising kids now, and it's just gonna continue the cycle on and on. So
I'm going to pass. There's a comment here. Unless I'm going to go to a student here, Elizaveta. Unless there's someone in Daniel in Budapest or anyone in Montreal, is it okay if I go to?
Is it a
Okay, there's a
comment
student here. Yeah,
on?
just say your name.
Is it what?
It's a comment on what Joseph
Okay.
just said, but
Okay,
I
sure.
think she's going to add something. Okay.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Alex, and I wanted to touch on what Joseph just said. And I was raised in a mixed family, so my dad's black and my mom's white. And so all my life, all I've ever gotten were questions kind of relating to stereotypes. So it's like, oh, is that a weave? Are you sure that's your natural hair? Do you like this or do you like that? And that kind of left me like in this gray area where like I don't know how to view myself, and I always kind of struggled with that. And that's kind of how stereotypes affected myself. And I kind of like understood what Joseph was saying there.
Awesome.
Excellent. Declan has something, and then we'll continue. Thanks, Elizaveta, for being patient. But sometimes
Yeah.
a student will come along like Joseph, who just sort of breaks the discussion open with a very honest comment. So, and so does Declan too. But so we'll come to Montreal and Budapest for sure. But here's Declan.
I just wanted to add on and say, first of all, I agree with most of what both Joseph and everyone else has been saying. But the one thing I disagree with is I don't think it's just a TV thing. I think it's a societal thing where we view black youth or black people in general as being more prone to violence or more prone to crime or being prone to fatherlessness or poverty. I think it's a societal thing. I think that in general, especially in America, we have a huge problem of marginalizing minority and ethnical youth. We don't necessarily see them as being part of America as a whole. We always refer to them as African Americans, or instead of just Americans, which is what they are. I think it's just like as long as they're stereotypes and marginalized, negative stereotypes about black youth and black people would just continue and continue. And then if that's all you know, because that's all the media tells you to do, and that's all you know because that's what society as a whole is forcing you into with their marginalization, that's all your life is going to be. And so I think we have to really think to ourselves, how are we enabling the media to perpetuate a stereotype about black people, which is, and all those stereotypes are incredibly toxic and detrimental to not just the black community, but just to everyone in general. No one benefits from a whole section of society being marginalized and forced into gangs or violence or any other kind of negative life choices or life paths.
Sorry, go, Elizaveta. I'll now give it over to you, and we'll continue. But this is the raw kind of stuff that students feel, and when we can actually bring it home and say that stereotypes perpetuated by large media companies end up affecting our sense of freedom and our sense of self-worth and our sense of identity, this is significant. So I will leave.
Yeah, I wanted first of all to say that I think that this discussion is awesome. That I'm really happy that, and that's what I was counting on when I started this discussion. That you all had some experiences that you really want to share, connected with stereotypes, connected with the media, and I like that you brought the race back in. We kind of mentioned it a little bit in the beginning, but I think it's important to remember that stereotypes don't come in one shape or color. There are so many different stereotypes connected with different, with people dividing each other into groups, right? And believing that certain group of people has a certain characteristic. And that's why it's important to remember that yes, we do have certain beliefs about men and women, but we also have beliefs about black men and women, about Asian men and women, about, disabled gay black men, or maybe poor Asian African, so there's so many intersections here, different kinds of groups and different kinds of stereotypes that unfortunately, it's so difficult in within one discussion to cover everything, but I'm glad that we were able to talk about that, and I'm also really grateful that you started to talk about this important issue of the power of voice, power of representation, because certainly there are some people who have historically more opportunities to share the message that they have, to share the ideas that they have, the values that they have, and that's why we sometimes have more stereotypes of a certain kind circulating in the media, and because I there's some very interesting research about media industries, who is working there, what is the ratio of people of different races, of different genders, and we see that still the majority of media is created by white people, and by a lot of media created by men, although this is changing, but still the key roles, even if we look at the CEOs of the major media corporations, they would all be, very rich white men. So what does it tell us about messages that they have to share with us? And yep.
Sorry, guys. The class I'm in right now is going to be taken over by another group, so Montreal has to check out. So thanks, Lon. Thanks, Elizabeta. Guys in Hungary, we'll see you soon. Cheers, guys.
Bye. All right.
Thank you, Montreal. They have to go in their class. The room is okay, but we'll continue. Okay.
Yeah, we have yeah, sure. We have 13 more minutes, and I think we're on to something here, and we definitely
Exactly.
can continue with that. Um, so, and I like that it was mentioned. The question was mentioned is how do we how do we enable the media to play this role in our lives, right? How does it happen that the media can sometimes shape our identities in this problematic way and limit our freedom in this problematic way? And do I see somebody's hand going up there? in Durham College, or was it
I think
somebody
Joseph,
wanted to
Joseph, you want to add?
want to say something?
Just a sec, yeah. Hold on, Joseph is going to add something, then we'll come back
Yeah,
for
awesome.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, that maybe will be the comment to my question.
Yeah, just a second. So Joseph, go ahead.
I believe like if someone tells you something so many times, you're just gonna believe it.
Hmm.
After all, like if you hear the same thing over and over, some people take it to heart and believe like oh shoot, like that's me, and it's a sad truth, but whatever.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good explanation because if we look at many mainstream media texts, media representations, we do see these stereotypes coming up again and again. So the question, so I think that I have two main questions for the rest of our conversation. The first one would be, um, as I already said, media representations now are becoming more complex, right? So it's more difficult to point out sometimes a stereotype in them. There are sometimes very, very blatant stereotypes that you can say, wow, how can it be have been created? And sometimes there are very nuanced portrayals that you can find stereotypes in, but they are connected, they are embedded within many other ideas that are maybe more worth considering. So my question is to maybe to those who haven't participated yet in this discussion, like, and this is actually a very important conversation because some people say, the media is really has this really really bad influence on us because it's filled with the stereotypes. But some people say, well, wait a second, there are also good portrayals. So there are also examples of good texts that show us black people in a good light, that show us women in this is a strong character. So I would like to maybe to hear from somebody who hasn't said anything yet. Maybe you haven't said anything because you have these examples and you want to say, well, wait a second, I have this example. I've seen a show recently, and there's a woman is a really strong character, and I would like to see to hear these kind of examples now.
I'm just going to give the microphone over to Kyle because Kyle wanted to add something
Yep,
to what Joseph has said,
absolutely,
and then we'll return to your
absolutely.
question. We'd love to hear from the Daniels of Budapest too as we get sort of wind this down. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Think about it. Okay. We'll come back. We'll come back to Kyle. Okay, in a moment. Um, so in Budapest, um, are there any positive? Is there such a thing as a positive stereotype
Yeah,
from
that's a
your
good
perspective?
question.
Yeah, and Daniel, just hold the microphone closer to your mouth so we can hear you clearly. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, one of my, well, let me just tell you a few words about one of my favorite characters, Ripley from the movie Alien and Aliens movies, and she's a really strong woman. So it's actually the opposite as um, um, most of the other characters. So we talked about that not much
Hmm?
strong women character are in movies, and actually she was one of the first characters which were really popular. And also a strong character and a woman character. I think this was a really important thing, and it changed the way how movies dealt with women characters.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good example because there certainly are strong female characters that are able to take things in their hands and that they control a situation and they save the day themselves. This is an awesome example. Does anybody else want to jump in and share the?
I think like a positive like stereotype is like the way that people look at Canadians, like just being like from Canada. It's like hearing everyone being like, oh, like you just are stereotypically like the nicest people ever. Like, like
Not true. Not
like
true.
it's being a Canadian. I don't think that's true. Like I see a lot of violence and stuff. Like like Canada to me is not really like different from places I've been. I've been all over the states. Like it's a little different, but like I don't think we're the nicest people ever. But like if people want to stereotype Canadians as that, like we play along with it. Like we're not gonna complain. Like that's something that like makes us as Canadians feel more like happy to be Canadian. So like I think that's a positive stereotype. Just
Awesome.
yeah, I don't know.
Awesome. Now that's a great example.
I'm a very
Um,
nice guy. In the morning, at night though, I'm not Canadian anymore. Just joking.
all right.
Here's Steph.
Something else.
Because you play hockey at night.
No, we play hockey early in the morning here. That's the only time you can get ice time these days at 2 in the morning. But anyways, let me give this over to Declan, okay?
Okay.
I think going off the whole of characters breaking stereotypes, I think that the strong female character who uses force and violence, like direct violence, to get her needs fulfilled has almost become a stereotype. And like just listing off like just a couple of characters like Samus from the Metroid series, Lara Croft from Tomb Raider, heck Daenerys Targaryen from the Game of Thrones series. All three of those characters, they use masculine traits to achieve their ends. But one of my favorite characters, just in that, is also from Game of Thrones. Cersei Lannister is someone who I think most people would agree is very feminine and very unmasculine. Like no one would say in the right at any point in time that Cersei Lannister is masculine, but at the same time, no one's ever going to say Cersei Lannister is not powerful. Whether or not she's good or evil or competent or incompetent is not either here nor there. But she is someone who has used her femininity and her own powers to achieve her own goals. So she hasn't resorted to outright going on a killing rampage herself and killing everyone with her bare hands, but she has used her feminine powers to go and get others to achieve, to do her bidding, and she's achieved her power with her femininity instead of despite it, and having to resort to masculine means to achieve power, which I think is a really positive thing.
Um, can I? I just want to add something to this because we're getting near the end of the class, unfortunately, Elizaveta, and so we will do this again, of course. But I think that we need to start winding things down
Yeah,
with the class,
that's
and
what
I
I was
wanted
going to do. That's why I'm going
and
to in this direction.
give you a chance. I wanted to give you a chance to also say some final words as well. But I wanted to just say one thing. I wanted to ask you a question, Elizaveta, about
Me.
what you've been
Okay.
hearing to get your
Yeah.
expert sort of advice. We've had a really interesting discussion that has, I wish we could continue, that has started about how the media creates certain images that may change the way we think about ourselves, um, how stereotypes are created, um, and also how that might affect our sense of freedom and sense of identity. Here's my question to you. It's 2014. We're in the 21st century now, and we're continuing on in this century. Do you think we're progressing as a global society in creating more realistic, complex characters that better reflect our sense of diversity and what life is really like? Or do you think that the media is starting to create more stereotypes that will continue to limit freedom in the future? Is there hope or no hope for this in the future? Just curious what you think.
Well, this is a great question, and this is a really huge question. I'm not sure that I will be able to adequately answer it in the 4 minutes. Um, and there are a lot of things being said about it right now, being said by people who just like media, being said by people in academia, people who write papers about it, people who create media. There are a lot of discussions exactly about that. Where are we going? What directions are we taking? And I think that during this discussion, we mentioned several times and gave some examples of the fact that media portrayals are becoming more complex and often as a result of criticism that so the fact that we are able to see problems, these problems, to see the stereotypes and to voice them, to share our ideas is major. It's very important because this is one way or another that influences media industries because maybe some of the people who participated today in these discussions, I don't know, we didn't really have a chance to talk about your majors and what are you studying, but maybe you are going in the future to become media producers in one way or another. And nowadays in our culture, that's some called participatory culture, that everybody basically can create a blog, can create a social page on social media, can create a video and put on YouTube. We all, even if we don't become professional media makers, we contribute in one way or another to this cloud of media messages out there. So the fact that we are talking about that, even though it's very difficult to come to a conclusion about where exactly are we going and whether it's necessarily a good direction or a bad direction, because we are talking about that, because we are seeing more and more of this complexity, this is huge and this is major. And I just wanted to say that I really like the last two speakers said about the stereotypes, that they are also not simple um, phenomenon, that you cannot say that they're necessarily bad or good, right? That is sometimes is just things that some say that stereotypes, we need them just to make sense of the world because we meet so many people every day. Like we don't live in a tribe anymore where we had like 20 people that we saw all our lives as 20 people, and sometimes like a neighbor tribe, but we see every day thousands and thousands of faces. How to make sense of that? We see a person and we necessarily go to a stereotype and think the way this person is dressed, I might expect this and that from this person. The way this person is acts, I might, he might do or she might do is say this and that to me. So it's very difficult not to use stereotypes, but what we've done today and what was a major thing, and we started to become more aware of what stereotypes, what role stereotypes play in our lives. And the stereotypes can be of different shapes and colors. It can be stereotypes connected with our gender, with the fact whether we are men or women. It can be stereotypes connected with our race, with the color of our skin, with our age, with our physical abilities, and just thinking about it and talking about it. And we don't, I'm just really wrapping up now, but I really wanted to thank you for having this awesome discussion, and I think that should be a model for many other discussions that should take place in different communities in different parts of the world now, where people just sharing their opinions without becoming necessarily angry at each other for having different opinions, but just telling what they think and what they feel and how they feel stereotypes or the media affect them, because this is the basis of a democratic society, and this is the basis, this is what helps us to gain eventually our freedom from some social expectations, from some cultural expectations that we certainly experience from the day we are born. So I would really like to thank you for this awesome discussion. I thank everybody who participated. You are awesome. And those who didn't participate, it's fine. I think that the fact that you came and that you listened, and, I could see in your faces that you could relate to some of the things being said. So I would like to thank everybody, and of course to thank Klon for giving us this amazing opportunity. Thank you.
Well, Elizaveta, I want to thank you for your the time and patience and the thoughtfulness and preparation you put into this. Of course, the two Daniels in Budapest. It's
Yay.
great to have you. You're right. There strength in numbers is a fallacy. It's strength in thoughtfulness and honesty. That's what we see in Budapest. Of course, Montreal's gone. Kyle, we're running out of. Is there something you want to add to this? Okay, I'm going to give Kyle. Kyle has been waiting to say something. Okay, and then I'm just going to quickly wrap up, and then we're going to end the class. Okay, so.
Sure.
Hi, my name's Kyle, as Lon's already said. So I was gonna add something to. Hi. Okay. So I was gonna add to something like I don't know if it was Lon or Elizaveta who asked the question about if we're getting better with stereotypes, like if the world is moving on. I think yes and no. I think more people are starting to realize that you can't just hear something on the news and not actually see it, and then just think in your mind, oh, this certain person did it, and or this certain or this type of person did it. But I think that the media is starting to see this, and they're starting to get more creative as the way they're describing it, so that they don't even really have to just say anything. They just have to put the image into your mind, and then you start to connect the dots. So that's all I really had to say.
Kyle, thanks, because that actually leads to my final point. Very good. I will only say that that Kyle has just made the point, whether he realized it or not, and he probably does, that education is the basis of all of this. Awareness, discussion, and it does look like globally, people are becoming more educated through communication like this, and becoming more aware of diversity in the world. And instead of fearing diversity, let's hope that we can celebrate it more in the future, because if you walk into a forest or a jungle and into the natural world, you will see so many different kinds of flowers and plants and animals, and you go into an ocean or a lake and you're going to see many different colored fish. And so the world is a very diverse, incredible, wondrous place, and hopefully we'll learn how to keep celebrating it, and that will be a much better future for us all. So thank you again, guys in Budapest. Elizaveta, we will be in touch. So take care, okay? See you soon.
Thank you. Bye.